Nick, we didn't get to talk to you after the game Sunday because we were doing the short show on Christmas Eve. So let's just start with there. What was your number one learn, takeaway, whatever from the Cardinals game, if anything? Because, it's just you're playing a bad football team. The Bears won. What stood out for you, though, if something comes to the top of your Nicholas Moreano mind?
Yeah, I think it was, again, a tale of two halves when you look at the offense, you guys. After that first drive for the Bears offense that goes in a 3-and-out, you have 3 straight touchdown drives. And even towards the end of that first half, or the second half, you see the offense kind of trending already into that, what it usually has done in the second half of ball games, kind of disappear. And I think it all stems from their lack of production on first and second down. And that was starting to happen right at the tail end of the second half. And it carried over into that second half to where you weren't seeing the Bears being able to move the ball as effectively. But when they were, I mean, Herb, you kind of pointed out when we were in the press box that pitch halfback dive that they were running with Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson. I was able to talk to Roschon a little bit after the game and kind of ask him, what is that? He just said it's an inside zone play, and he likes it a lot because those linebackers will overcommit thinking that you're about to bounce this outside. Yep. So it was working really well for the Bears in that first half. But in that second half, you saw more of the penalties come up. You saw some missed throws from Justin Fields, especially towards the right sideline. I don't know what it was. On the very first drive, you had a misconnect with Fields to Kmet. There was also another play where the ball was low to Darnell Mooney. Yeah. And then you also had a 3rd and 16 play where Fields just it was almost nearly intercepted trying to target DJ Moore. So there were some misconnects there. But, again, a tale of two halves for the offense. But ultimately, still were able to get the job done and really committed to that run game to do so.
Yeah, I think that, like to your point, you start to see them tail off in that second quarter, and they weren't able to kind of steer that thing back right. But to your point, Carm, just about the game being what it was, the Bears were the better team. They were going to beat them, and they did. Nothing overly impressive, but you still got to give credit for going out there and doing what you're supposed to do. Now, you would have loved to see them continue in the fashion that they were when they had 3 straight touchdowns. You're like, this is a game, and Justin said it in the postgame, we should have put up 35-40. Right, yep. and they should have, and you gotta get to a point where you can see them continue to keep their foot on the gas. And I don't really like that saying per se because it kind of implies they kind of stop trying hard. I don't think that's the case. Execution, something happens, play calling, something happens where they don't succeed on first and second down. They put themselves in those 3rd and 16 situations, and now you got Justin trying to force a deep out route to DJ, and like Nick said, it almost got picked. They got to stay on time and in rhythm once they get those leads.
I completely agree with that, Herb. And I think, too, what was happening on first down, there was even times where Justin Fields in that offense, they were electing to throw to, there was a nice play that, and you pointed out, again, Herb, in the press box, it was a throw to Darnell Mooney on an out route to the left sideline. Mm-hmm. Perfectly placed ball, looked like it was on time, just not a complete catch by Darnell Mooney. We've kind of seen that disconnect throughout the entire season with 1-11, and kind of showed up in spurts there again in the win against the Arizona Cardinals. So for whatever reason, the Bears can't continue that success that starts these games into the second half. That still needs – you have 2 games to kind of figure out like how to get that more consistent. That's why the Bears are where they're at right now. A 6-9 football team, still technically in the hunt, and right. I put that graphic on Twitter. Yeah, people were like, what, they're still in, then we're going to go out and try for it. But yeah, there's still things on this offense that still need to be cleaned up. It doesn't help, though, too, guys, when you don't have Cole Kmet out there consistently. DJ Moore's coming in and out of, plays. So, and I get that, but still, like Justin Fields said after the game, he expected to put up more points, and there definitely were opportunities to do so.
Nick, you talk about the possibility, the faint possibility of them being in the playoffs. The most important thing at this point in the season for the Bears is the impending decisions that they have to make at head coach, at quarterback, at OC. And what sense do you have being in the building every day, being in that locker room? What sense do you have about how those looming decisions are impacting the team, or are guys starting to kind of, make their allegiances known, whether that be the Flus or the Fields or whatever it's going to be? Do you have a sense of how this is impacting the team as they prepare for whatever this offseason is going to be?
Well, and you guys have been there too. We know that every single person, not just the players, coaches, probably the GM itself, they love Justin Fields. Like there is a strong allegiance to number one, regardless of who you go to, from your highest paid defensive player to probably the last player on the practice squad. There is an allegiance to Justin Fields and how he approaches his business each and every single day, what he does on the football field on Sundays. So there definitely is that support for Justin Fields, and we've heard more and more over these last couple of weeks. And I think it makes sense with the season coming to an end, with 2 games left in the regular season, this huge overall decision with having the number 1 overall pick, but also, you're in a really good position to do, something that Ryan Poles hasn't done, and maybe upgrade that quarterback position if he chooses to do so. So it's not surprising to hear all the support for Justin Fields, and I get it. There have been times where you want to see more out of him individually, but still, there's a reason why they're in some of these games, just because of the plays he can make. There are broken down plays in that game against the Cardinals where Justin Fields escapes, is able to avoid pressure, find someone downfield. So there's definitely support for him, but I also think there's support for Matt Eberflus and what he's doing. You only hear good things from the players, and the hits principle that constantly gets brought up from all these players, and why they think that's a component of why this defense has been really a strong point of this team and creating all the turnovers that it has. So I think there's support from both guys, and I think the one, and I wouldn't say that we haven't heard as much, but Luke Getsy, right? He's obviously maybe the one outlier here. We saw whatever was going on in that 2nd and 6th play during the game when Justin Fields is kind of displeased with something, and I want to ask Eberflus about that, if he knows anything more about what was kind of being said about that specific sequence of plays. But yeah, I think there's support for a lot of the top people in this organization, and these last 2 games I think will be telling for what ultimately happens in the end here.
So I want to slightly push back. You had dudes after the Cleveland loss, which ended the season, openly in that locker room. You were there, Nick.
Questioning that 3rd and 15.
Questioning the 3rd, the 15. I think there's a lot of pride in that locker room, and guys are going to play hard. They're putting tape out there, not just for the Bears, but for the rest of the NFL. So I'll give Flus credit on some level that this team has continued to play, but it would be the worst thing ever if they stopped playing. So you get you get a little bit of credit, but you don't get a ton. And you saw Fields have his little moment with Luke Getsy last week, where the play's not coming in fast enough, or whatever the issue was. No big deal. These things happen in the moment. But the fact of the matter is that early in the season, when he was asked about it, why haven't you been consistent, or whatever the question was, well, it could be coaching. He said that. Now he walked it back a little bit, but that came out. So I'm not willing to sit here and I could be wrong. I'm not even saying that it is, but I do wonder, does that locker room, if you polled it anonymously, what they would actually say about, hey, we'll give you a completely new coaching staff next year, or we're sticking with what we got. I don't know how that comes out. Like, I don't know where you guys, like, I don't know if you had to guess on that poll, are you sticking with it? You think that they would be supported?
Yeah, I think it'd probably come in. I think it'd come in overwhelmingly favorable.
You do?
I think it'd be 80-20 at worst for them. Now, I don't know that that's warranted, but or it's just the fact that, hey, we're a family and we're sticking together and we're going to, you know what I mean? But even if it was anonymous, I don't think that you would get that thing down around 50-50, or certainly not in the negative.
Okay. All right. Nick, you agree?
You know what I think, too? Yeah, I think they would still be in support of this staff. And I think it does help that there are a lot of young guys on this roster, too. This is what they know about their coaches. They've been around them ever since they entered the league. And I'll say this, right after the game, Justin Fields was at his locker. Obviously, it's a winning locker room. Andrew Janocko comes in, congratulates Justin Fields. Luke Getsy kind of walks by really quickly. They dab it up real quick, and he goes out. But I think we saw that blow up and on the that 2nd and 6th play. But I do think that we've seen Justin Fields and Luke Getsy, the connection that they do have. And yes, he called out the coaching at one point. And then you made a good point, Mark, with the 3rd and 15 play with Justin Jones. Why do you have that guy driving back in coverage? So there's been spurts of it. But in a season in its totality that has, coaches being fired and all this outside noise, I would say for the most part, like they've come together and stayed together and now have 2 games left. Unless something drastically crazy goes and happens, like this has been a pretty well-connected locker room.
So I have the privilege today sitting with 2 football nerds in yourself, Nick, and you, Herb. I mean, you guys love to sit there and break down plays and look at crossers and everything that goes with football. Do you if you polled, we're talking about polls here, not Ryan polls, but just polls in general. If you polled the Bears fans, probably 90% would say replace Luke Getsy. 80%. Would you guys, looking at what he's created with this offense, when you look at the total body of work, not just one play where and I called it out on Twitter or whatever because it was annoying in the moment, but one play where he goes wildcat, and short yardage plays in general in the fourth quarter have been questionable a lot this year. But his overall scheme, are you getting rid of the offensive coordinator if you just go football nerd analysis on what the Bears are trying to do?
I think that would be the direction I'm leaning towards, because overall, even when Justin Fields had his, stint through October to early November where he was running all over everybody, it just has overall just been so inconsistent. You'll get these great play calls where you scheme guys open, and then you'll get the third and short and fourth and short situations where I think you're just overthinking. And overall, it's just been inconsistent up to this point, and there's still 2 games in the season, and it's still inconsistent. So that's the direction I would be leaning, unless no, it would be that direction, that you would want to go get a new offensive mind, somebody, if you're looking to keep Justin Fields, that thinks you can cater to his strengths even more and have that more focus in the game plan. Yeah, I think that would be the focus. But I think if you're also getting a new offensive coordinator, there's probably going to be change at the top too. That also probably means a new quarterback's coming in. But yeah, to answer your question, Mark, yeah, I think I would be leaning towards getting someone new at the offensive coordinator position.
Yeah, I tend to lean that way too. Previously, I had kind of been of the mind that I don't necessarily want, because I'm staunchly keep Justin Fields, right? And I don't necessarily want him learning a new system, but I also don't think it's so difficult that you got to be stuck to the OC that's here just because of that. And so I think that there have been times where we've seen Getsy do some nice things and make some great designs. We talked about the Cole Kmet play on the boot right, throw left, but he misses so many layups. And that's what frustrates me about Getsy. It's not that he can't do some creative things. We've seen the creative things. We've seen the DJ Moore run touchdown. We've seen those types of things. But then he blows the layups, the 3rd and 1s, when you got 2 downs to get 1 yard and you still end up short on both. And it's like, those are the things that frustrate me most about him. And so if you can get an OC, and I see a lot of people talking about Greg Roman in the chat, somebody who could better utilize Justin's skill set, I'd be on board for that. I'm not as down on Getsy as everybody else seems to be, but if you can get somebody who's got a resume established of being able to use that type of skill set, I'd be on board.
The Flus talks at 1:30 today. Nick, we'll let you get to that. You got a question in mind that you're going to ask Coach Flus? I think you just said it a second ago, but remind me what it is.
Yeah, I'll just kind of say, again, if he has any insight of what that discussion was on 2nd and 6 for Fields, but what exactly could be done also for Tyreek Stevenson on the touchdown that was given up on the drag route. There's a vertical route going, and Stevenson has to kind of go under. Eddie Jackson doesn't take the best angle. What can the Bears do, in the future to prevent plays like that? And yeah, so you also just have to listen to the press conferences to see what other questions are being asked. But those are just some of the things that are on my mind. I have a list of things that I don't know where that list is at actually right now. So I will find it before the press conference.
The injury report isn't due till Wednesday. Probably won't get a whole lot of info about Cole Kmet and others today, but maybe we'll get some insight as to how he dealt with where the swelling is and things like that.
Ask Getsy about Cole's durability.
Never missed a game. 65 straight.
65 straight. Hey, Nick, and send Carman the audio when you're done with the press conference today. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I can't wait to cut it up for tomorrow's show.
You complimented me and Nick on being like football nerds.
You are. Both of you.
Full compliment. Nick and I watching the games in the press box should be its own show. Like, we have a great time. We have great conversations. We work well back and forth off each other, whether he's got his super laser zoom camera that can go across the stadium and tell me who just went in the tent and who's just took tape off their shoes or whatever. I'm like, yo, they ISO and Kyler Gordon right here. They finna throw at him. Like, we have just this great back and forth. It's super, super dope, Nick. Love watching the games with you every Sunday, brother.
I'd watch that.
You two honestly have been an underrated blooming friendship football nerd
Nick
tandem.
is my guy.
I mean, it's adorable. You're both, you always got incredible flair with the clothes. So does Nick. It's a match made in heaven here.
Nick is my guy.
Yeah, I mean, who else would you rather sit next to in the Bears press conference? You gonna go Grody? I mean, that's just like, that's my guy. I'm kidding. All right, Nick.
Appreciate you guys.
Get
Thanks,
back
brother.
to it, brother.
Yep.
We'll holler later.
Appreciate it. All right, Nicholas Moreano.
We all silly like the mayor.